What's up, guys and girls? Austin here, also known as Sinister Taco 101 or Sinister Burrito if you're here on my YouTube channel, and let me explain to you who I am. I am a guy that makes gameplay videos, commentaries, I live stream, and I do playthroughs of games. Now, for some of you that don't know, I'm a huge fan of Mass Effect. I even have a Mass Effect tattoo on my chest that I'll probably insert here. Anyways, what I'm talking about today is everything we know so far about Andromeda. Now, with that said, I am trying to keep everything to confirmed only, and I will say, like, when I think something is not confirmed, or if I'm just speculating something myself. Now, on top of that, there will be spoilers in here. So if you don't want to be spoiled by Andromeda, I perfectly understand. You might just want to skip out here, or come back after it releases and see, like, if I was wrong about anything. Now, for those of you that, are counting down the days, just so you know, it releases on March 21st, so it is coming up very quickly. It is just about a month away. Now, based on the title alone, you can infer it takes place in the Andromeda Galaxy. Now, specifically, timeline-wise, it takes place between 2 and 3. So, right after the events of 2 is when, or I believe it's right after the events of 2, is when the initiative starts. And you travel you're in cryostasis for 600 years in order to get to the Andromeda Galaxy. So you're not sure what happens in the events of 3, although I think somehow, like, the story will kind of tie in. Now, for the first time ever, when you choose between the two characters, the other characters still exist. So if you're the girl, the guy, your brother still exists somewhere out in the universe. I don't know if he's a part of the story, like a huge amount, but he is there. Now, you play as a pair of siblings. You can play as Sarah Ryder or Scott Ryder. And like I said, the others somewhere in the universe. We don't know if they play a huge role or not. But because you're playing as Sarah and Scott Ryder, they are officially moving away from Commander Shepard's story. Like, they're officially moving on. Because of that, they are also changing up how the dialogue options work, because the Paragon Renegade system was so central to who Commander Shepard was. They are now, it's going through an evolution, or maybe an abandonment, depending on how you see it, where it's more of the Dragon Age Inquisition style, where each option has a different feeling. So one will be, strong, the other will be sympathetic, stuff like that. There's no more right or wrong as far as we can tell, like what the Paragon system was. Hopefully this leads to being able to be more pragmatic, which I would love. Now, all that out the way, we are on to the Squadmates. So first off, we finally get a Krogan back in our squad. He is named Drak Nakmor, Nakmor being his clan. He is 1400 years old. His favorite weapon is the Rusad shotgun. And a famous quote he is known by is, "Do you have any idea how many humans I've watched die? You're meat. You spoil." And just for a little bitty fun fact, he weighs 750 pounds with his prosthetics. So that is one heavy Krogan. Also, it's interesting because we never really find out too much about how the Krogan life cycle works. We know that at this point, they haven't been cured of the genophage. We don't know how long they normally live. So 1400 years, I don't know if that's super old, like if he's nearing like the end of his lifetime, or if he's middle-aged. I don't know any of that, so I don't really want to speculate on that. But based on that, I would guess like probably either 1500 or like 2000 is like the average years, assuming they don't die in battle. Anyways, moving on. Making deals to get the things you want, shooting at the things you don't. That's me. This is our next squadmate, Veteran Nyx. She is a Turian who is a big fan of modification. She uses modified shields, armor, and weapons to take down her foes. She weighs 210 pounds, so she's fully tricked out. She has this special eye visor. She has different colors on her armor. She likes specialized weapons, which is really cool. Plus, actually, I'll get into that a little bit later. We can move on before I just spoil everything else. Belisarius, or PB, as some of you may know, she seems to be the main squadmate that's been advertised up to this point. She's an Asari gunslinger. She has a lust for adventure. She wants to be the first to discover something. She wants her name in the history books. This is the quote that explains that. The Milky Way was so been there, done that. Even if I hadn't done it, someone had. And she weighs 115 pounds. With that said, she wants to be the first. She wants to discover a planet that nobody else has, claim it for her own. She wants that sense of adventure. And then, of course, she's a gunslinger, so she's going to be an interesting squad mate to be sure. Now, onto the next one. When your biotics are honed into Huntress-grade weapons, people can be weird about it. Lieutenant Cora Harper. She's a spaceborne human. She worked in an Asari commando unit before joining the initiative. What's interesting about this is, for as much as we know about the commando units, which isn't a lot, they're all Asari, so she must be extremely strong in order to, run with the pack. She weighs 135, and her favorite ability is biotic charging. Once again, she loves shotgun range. She wants to get up in people's faces. Now, on to the next one. I believe in a new beginning. Still do. I have to. We're in it. Liam Costa is a crisis response specialist that uses dual Omni Blades in battle. Now think about that. Not one Omni Blade, but two. Now he weighs 195 pounds, and he uses Havoc Strike to stun enemies. Havoc Strike is leaping forward, stabbing his Omni Blades into the ground, creating a shockwave that stuns enemies, and also sets them up for biotic combinations. So now we're moving on to my next page of notes. I came somewhat prepared. So, like I mentioned this earlier, it's a one-way trip to the Andromeda Galaxy. So it takes place between 2 and 3. They are put into cryostasis for 600 years until they reach there, unless something happens along the way, which you can infer that something might happen as soon as you get there. We're not completely sure yet, but we do know it takes 600 years in the future. Now, what about how are they getting there, you ask? They're traveling through arcs. Now, these arcs, they were quite expensive to build, and they're pretty big. Now, there are multiple arcs. Each one has their own pathfinder. The pathfinder is the person in charge of finding them new homes. So each arc is for their own species. So there's an arc for humans, there's an arc for Turians, there's an arc for Asaris, maybe an arc for Solarians. I kind of doubt an arc for Krogans. I'm not so sure about that, but I know that we'll be seeing a mix of the old races along with the new. Now, Avina, she's a virtual intelligence that answers questions and provides guidance aboard the ship. She isn't what's her name? Eve? No, it's not Eve. The AI from Mass Effect 2 and 3. She's not like her. So this is just a full virtual intelligence, kind of like the one on the original Mass Effect that would answer your questions. So she can't really give you any guidance. She's not programmed that way. Now, the arc that we'll specifically be on is the arc Hyperion. And just a little bit of stats for you, it's 1.5 kilometers long and weighs 17 million metric tons. Now, it specifically transports human colonists. I believe 20,000 is the number. And just to explain to you how far it is, it's 2.5 million light years to Andromeda. That's how far it has to drive. Now, how can a spaceship that big travel that distance with that many people on it? How wouldn't it run out of fuel? Well, it'll run out of fools. But what about fuel, you may ask? It uses the ODYS drive system, which is a massive experimental drive core that recycles static energy, which would cause normal starships to explode. It stores it in the Ark's primary systems. And then on top of that, there's an electromagnetic ram scoop, which gathers hydrogen and converts it into fuel as needed. Now, that is how each arc is meant to travel. Now, as soon as you get there, everybody's supposed to rendezvous in the Helios cluster to set up their base of operations and go forward from there. Now, here's a little bit about the staff who will be running everything. The Director of Colonial Affairs is Foster Addison, who oversees colonization logistics. So, gonna make sure that everybody gets where they need to go, pick out a planet that'll be best for them, and secures it, basically. The Nexus Superintendent, which is Kesh Nakmor, is a female Krogan that keeps the station functioning, make repairs, everything. She helped build it. So, another Krogan that's from the Nakmor clan, I'm assuming that we'll find out about the Nakmor clan as it goes on, because we aren't too familiar with the clans, except for, Erdnot's clan. And then Nexus Security, which is Sloane Kelly. who is an Alliance soldier who oversees all the security initiatives, you know, once again secures everything. So that's a little bit about the staff. Now, let's talk about the Rover, like the new badass vehicle we're going to be driving that takes place of the, what's it called? I don't remember the name of the vehicle. I was just playing Mass Effect like a week ago and I don't even remember the name of it. Anyways, so it's a Rover. It has twin hydrogen-oxygen engines. It's fully all-terrain, and it is fully customizable. So you can customize the shields, the radar, the weapons, even paint jobs. It is fully customizable, and of course it's bringing back the boost. It can boost you forward or up in a tight spot, and it's going to have a lot better controls than the first game. For example, they even brought in, because Mass Effect Andromeda takes place in the Frostbite engine now, they brought in the Need for Speed guys to test like the handling and to get to some stuff, just so driving it would feel fluid, which, as those of you who play the first one, it is not fluid at all. Now, let's talk about some of the changes to combat. Combat is less cover based. As you know, Mass Effect 3 was very heavily cover based. You'd run from cover to cover shooting, and that's how it would go. Well, in Andromeda, it's very fast paced. So what if you want to jump up in the sky? Well, you have a jump jet. You can jump into the sky, you can do ground pounds, you can hover in the sky and shoot. So combat is more fluid now. Like, you can fight on different levels. Now there's a dynamic cover system, hopping from combat into cover seamlessly. Something that Mass Effect 3 did sort of well. It could have been better, but I won't hate on it for what it did. Now, what type of guns are there? There's pistols, shotguns, snipers, assault rifles, you know, the basics. But, you know what is new? Melee weapons. There's hammers, there's katanas, there's omniblades. There are different melee weapons now, and each, you know, having a different attack speed and different attack damage. The hammer doing the most damage, but being the slowest. Now, another big change from the usual Mass Effect series is there were class restrictions. So if you played as a, what's it called? The sniper class. It wasn't the biotic specialist, I don't think. But if you played as the sniper class, basically all you could do is use pistols and sniper rifles. Anything else you wouldn't be good with. Well, they're doing away with that. There are no more class restrictions. You can fully... I believe the way it is you can fully build your character how you want. Although I'm not completely sure on that. Like, so if you choose like a biotic specialist or, you know, the biotic class, I'm assuming you have to build into it, but you also have a little bit of freedom in that you can build into others as well. I'm not completely sure on that, so I'll move on from there. Now, there are 3 different types of weapon classes. There's the Milky Way weapons, which is the ones we're used to, and it uses projectiles. So, like the normal guns that we're used to in the Mass Effect universe, except for one. But the next one, and this is a more interesting one, is Remnant weapons, which fires beams and it uses particles. So it recharges, but it can overheat. So think the Javik's gun from Mass Effect 3, you know, the best assault rifle in the game. Think that. So they're bringing back, you know, the rechargeables. But there's also a third, which is the Helios weapons, which is, you know, the place you're going to. They're plasma based. So while they do have ammo, some can also charge up and deal more damage. They're also a little bit slower, but it's kind of like concussive rounds. It does tons of damage. There is also now sticky grenades. And of course, sticky grenades are super effective against almost anything. But, you know, the quality is limited. You don't have an infinite amount. As for regular grenades, I'm not sure if we have an infinite amount of regular grenades. They didn't really make that distinction yet. And then there's different health bars. There's the yellow health bar, which means they have armor, which means they're resistant to some types of weapon and powers. Then there's the blue, which is shielding, which is, you know, also resistant to some types of powers, which you should know. So, with that and said, that is about everything we know up to this point in Mass Effect. I may be missing things, but if I am, feel free to let me down below. And if you learned anything, feel free to give me a like and subscribe, because I will be doing multiple playthroughs of Andromeda on my channel, on different difficulties, doing different runs, stuff like that. So I hope you're looking forward to that, and I hope you're looking forward to Andromeda just as much as I am. I want to thank you for watching this video, and I want to wish you a good day.